Survival games are one of the most popular genres in recent times, placing you in challenging scenarios and forcing you to overcome them with limited resources. In this video, I'll show you the best survival games for PS4, with an emphasis on titles that force you to scavenge for resources and craft items that will help keep you alive. Metro Exodus is a gripping first-person shooter that takes players on an epic journey across post-apocalyptic Russia. Following the events of the previous Metro games, you assume the role of Artyom, a survivor who leaves the ruins of Moscow to search for a new life in the East. The game features a compelling story driven by exploration and survival, with players traversing diverse landscapes ranging from desolate wastelands to lush forests. Metro Exodus combines intense combat with stealth mechanics, crafting, and resource management. Its stunning graphics, atmospheric environments, and immersive narrative make it a standout experience for fans of story-driven shooters. Green Hell is all about authentic survival in the Amazon rainforest. It's a much more realistic version of the forest, meaning no mutants or cannibals. All you have to contend with in this game are the hostile Amazon locals, wild animals, parasites, and the non-living forces of nature. You have to appease your macronutrient requirements, water, fats, carbs, protein, by hunting and foraging and even checking how many leeches you have on you from time to time, as well as building a shelter or other tools to increase your lifespan in the jungle. It's essentially Far Cry, but without the guns or action movie nonsense. Medieval Dynasty offers a unique blend of survival, role-playing, and city-building gameplay set in the Middle Ages. You play as a young man escaping war to build a new life in an untouched valley. Starting with nothing, you must gather resources, build your home, establish a farm, and eventually grow a thriving medieval village. As the seasons change, you'll need to hunt, farm, and manage your resources carefully to survive. The game also features dynamic interactions with NPCs, allowing you to form relationships, trade, and complete quests. With its rich, open-world sandbox and immersive historical setting, Medieval Dynasty provides a deep and engaging simulation of medieval life. The world isn't what it used to be in days gone. The title puts you as a bounty hunter trying to survive a world where a pandemic devastated the population and gave rise to monsters. With the world decimated, you'll hop on your bike and scavenge to see if anything is worth taking. You'll fight other groups, take on monsters known as freakers, and work with survivors to make life better if you desire. As Deacon St. John, you'll search for meaning in a cruel world devoid of it. Wildside is an adventurous open-world survival game set in a vast, untamed wilderness. Players take on the role of a lone survivor who must navigate the challenges of the wild, from foraging for food to crafting shelter and tools. The game emphasizes exploration, allowing you to discover beautiful landscapes, hidden secrets, and a variety of wildlife. Combat and stealth play significant roles as you encounter dangerous animals and hostile environments. With its stunning natural environments, realistic survival mechanics, and emphasis on player freedom, Wildside offers an immersive experience for those looking to test their survival skills in a vibrant and unpredictable world. Sons of the Forest launched into early access in 2023, and ever since, it's garnered a huge following. The first-person horror meets survival adventure sees players stranded in the wilderness surrounded by danger at each turn. From cannibalistic tribes to aggressive animals, Sons of the Forest ramps up the pressure as your fight to stay alive persists through seemingly unending, testing scenarios. Whether or not you ever got into the forest, it's worth checking out its deeply engrossing sequel if you don't mind a decidedly scarier edge to your survival adventures. You probably expected this one already. The Last of Us, to this day, is one of the most phenomenal games ever, and it's also one of the flagship exclusive titles of PlayStation back then. It simply ticks plenty of checkboxes for this list. Survival elements, albeit casual ones? Check. A PS4/PS3 exclusive? Check. Thrilling plot and story? Check. The Last of Us follows the story of Joel and Ellie as they trudge through the post-apocalyptic United States after a mutant fungus outbreak turns everyone into a zombie. The amount of character drama, narrative twists, and feels here are simply unmatched by even the biggest survival titles or even other AAA games. Developer Naughty Dog simply outdid themselves with this game. In many respects, the grandfather of the best survival games started life as a mod before blowing up in such a massive way that it became its own game. Based on military sim Arma 3, it adds the OL faithful of video games, zombies, into the survival mix. However, it's not the undead you need to be most afraid of, but other players. They roam the maps in makeshift gangs, preying on the weak and stealing your hard-earned gear. DayZ has the potential for some great role-playing, big PvP battles, and unforgiving survival elements. The tables can turn quickly on you in this game, but anything is possible if you found a good group. Stranded Deep is a game that takes elements from other survival titles but adds its own spin. The game starts off with your boat crashing on an island, and you need to survive the first few days to have any chance at getting rescued. Getting food, water, and avoiding the sun are your top priorities, but there are also enemies you need to fend off. Stranded Deep takes place both on the island and underwater, both of which are not overly safe. Luckily, you can craft a slew of different items to survive, including bases, vehicles, weapons, and more. It might not be for everyone, but Death Stranding is revolutionary in its own way. This game is Hideo Kojima's latest innovation, which makes use of multiplayer in ways no other game has gone before. The core gameplay, for that matter, is best enjoyed online. That loop involves delivering packages like the world's most dedicated and impractical FedEx delivery guy. What makes Death Stranding work more as a survival title than an action-adventure one is how the packages tend to handicap the players, whereupon they have to think up creative or resourceful ways to avoid combat and complete their delivery. Combat is sparse and unconventional, meaning you have to rely on grit most of the time. The primary objective of Rust is to conquer the wilderness, animals, and critically other players in a bid to survive another night. As a strictly multiplayer online game, the biggest threat in Rust is your fellow player, as you can use firearms, bows, and various weapons to bludgeon people to death for fun or to collect their materials. You'll encounter wild animals stalking the woods or armed NPCs driving around in vehicles that shoot at any player armed with a weapon. In this deadly open world, your best bet at survival is either building a base or joining a clan. This usually means that raiding will become another threat for you to fight against. An early access multiplayer survival game from a team with a lot of experience in this particular field. Vigor from Bohemia Interactive, the crew behind DayZ, is on some slightly rickety legs, but it's taking some steps that are worth looking into. Set in post-war Norway in the 90s, the harsh and unforgivable environment of the Outlands awaits. You'll need to utilize your survival skills in order to succeed, whilst also recovering resources for your shelter from the hostile wilderness back home. There are over 60 different kinds of weapons to wield, so your loadout is down to you. Keep an eye on your map, watch the tree lanes, and good luck! One of the biggest breakout hits of 2024 is Enshrouded, and it's fast becoming one of the best survival games ever. The dark fantasy adventure sees players stepping into the role of the Flameborn as they explore a vast open world, filled to the brim with all manner of hulking foes to vanquish while constructing a new life for yourself. It's an online multiplayer offering, meaning you get to band together with up to 16 friends or strangers on your perilous journey. It sounds like the perfect blend of action RPG and survival game epic, so be sure to add it to your wishlist if that sounds like a good time. The world of Conan the Barbarian has been reimagined in several different games, but the definitive version of the character's world lies in Conan Exiles. A multiplayer survival experience, Conan Exiles is an open sandbox where you have to scrounge, build, and fight in order to survive. You can fend off enemies using basic combat or sorcery and team up with other players to secure your place in the world. The map in Conan Exiles is quite expansive, featuring full cities, dungeons with plenty of loot, and other sights to see. Moving on to the open world is Dying Light and its numerous downloadable contents, DLC, and expansions. The game showcases a huge and sprawling city you can traverse vertically and horizontally in first-person parkour, and you certainly would need to if you want to avoid the ravenous zombie hordes on the city streets of Vigor. You play as an undercover agent in a shady organization committed to fixing the zombie infestation in the city of Heron. If you find the daylight zombie hordes and human bandits wanting, simply go out at night and Dying Light will show you why it's a bad idea to be alone with zombies once the sun comes down. Regardless, it's a good enough game if you're after casual survival where you don't need to fulfill a checklist of your character's needs. Dying Light 2 is a highly anticipated open-world action RPG that plunges players into a post-apocalyptic world teeming with zombies and human factions vying for control. Set 20 years after the first game, you play as Aiden Caldwell, a skilled survivor with a mysterious past. The game features dynamic parkour mechanics, allowing you to traverse the urban landscape fluidly while avoiding or combating threats. Your choices shape the world around you, affecting the storyline and the city-state. With its expansive open world, intense combat, and deep narrative, Dying Light 2 offers an immersive and evolving experience that keeps players on the edge of their seats. Zombie games were extremely popular back in the mid-2010s, but 7 Days to Die stands out as arguably the best one. It's a survival horror FPS that features RPG elements, an open world, and a robust crafting system that will have you hooked in no time. There are also terrific base-building mechanics that bring to mind the old tower defense titles, as you have to protect your loot from hordes of zombies knocking at your front door. The plot of 7 Days to Die is also instantly gripping, as you have 7 days to prepare yourself for the zombie horde. If you aren't ready, you'll perish. If you're craving for something more hardcore than a Souls-like game, particularly in the running around helpless aspect of gameplay, then Outward ought to be your masochist sanctuary. It's a medieval fantasy RPG with no mini-map, no fast travel, and no readily available modern means of video game healing. Outward pits you against its cruel world where you'll feel lonelier than ever as you journey through the land on your own, armed mostly with only your wits and measly tools or spells. It's a game that treats you like an expendable NPC, not as a chosen one or protagonist. XERA Survival is a fast-paced, multiplayer survival game set in a dystopian future where players must scavenge, craft, and fight to survive in a world overrun by hostile robots and other players. The game features a persistent open world with dynamic weather and day-night cycles, creating a challenging environment for survival. Engage in intense PvP and PvE combat, form alliances, and gather resources to build and fortify your base. With its emphasis on tactical gameplay, cooperation, and competition, XERA Survival delivers a thrilling and strategic survival experience. Smalland is an enchanting survival game that shrinks players down to the size of insects, immersing them in a vast and detailed miniature world. As a tiny survivor, you must navigate through lush forests, towering blades of grass, and intricate ecosystems teeming with both friendly and hostile creatures. Craft tools and shelters, tame insects, and explore the environment to uncover secrets and resources. The game emphasizes exploration, survival, and creativity, offering a unique perspective on the survival genre. With its beautiful visuals and engaging gameplay, Smalland provides a captivating adventure in a world where even the smallest detail matters. The Forest is another survival horror game that pits your desire for exploration against your fear of the unknown. Monsters are waiting around every corner in the forest, waiting for you to make the wrong turn in a cave. However, in order to progress the game, you need to explore every inch of the island you've crash-landed on. The crafting in the forest is top-notch and the exploration is bone-chilling, but extremely rewarding at the same time. We could also put Sons of the Forest, the sequel to The Forest, on this list, but we felt the original game deserved the spot. Few apocalypse survival sims manage to capture the actual intensity and desperation of trying to survive in a wasteland. That's why Frostpunk is a whole new world of pain and depression even for those used to apocalypse games. Frostpunk showcases the plight of the survivors of a climate apocalypse where the world is plunged into sub-zero temperatures, forcing most of life to die in the white void. You lead a community of survivors as they try to scavenge, rebuild, and sacrifice their way into preservation. Frostpunk introduces new survival mechanics never before utilized in any video game. By the end of a story playthrough, you'll be feeling the chill and the heartlessness of its wasteland. Dead by Daylight is an intense multiplayer horror game where one player takes on the role of a savage killer, and the other 4 players play as survivors, trying to escape the killer and avoid being caught, tortured, and killed. Set in various eerie and atmospheric maps, survivors must work together to repair generators and open the gates to freedom, while the killer uses their unique abilities to hunt them down. Each character has their own set of perks and abilities, allowing for diverse gameplay styles and strategies. With its adrenaline-pumping gameplay, ever-expanding roster of characters, and spine-chilling atmosphere, Dead by Daylight delivers a thrilling and terrifying experience for horror fans. What started as one of the most criticized video game launches of all time, due to pre-release hype, has turned into arguably the best turnaround story in gaming history. No Man's Sky was released to critical disdain in 2016, but the developers at Hello Games have never stopped working to deliver the game it initially promised to the community. After dozens of updates, free expansions, and more, No Man's Sky is safely one of the best survival experiences you can play in 2024. There's full multiplayer, terrific base building, and endless exploration to take part in, along with a revamped story. Huge free updates continue to roll out for the game in 2024. A survival game with a difference, Tribes of Midgard is a survival game that meets pseudo-tower defense as you build up your town whilst fending off the forces of Ragnarok. Giant towering creatures assail you regularly and you'll need to work fast in order to survive. The worlds are randomly generated, as large as you would like to make them, and open to up to a maximum of 10 players. So you can get quite the large group going pretty easily, and you're going to need that backup. There's quite the learning curve, but once you settle into it, Tribes of Midgard can be very rewarding. Plus, there's always plenty to do in each new roguelike session. The Outlast Trials is a cooperative horror game that serves as a prequel to the original Outlast series. Set during the Cold War era, players become unwilling test subjects in a mysterious experiment conducted by the Murkoff Corporation. The game features terrifying environments, intense stealth mechanics, and cooperative gameplay where up to 4 players must work together to survive the gruesome trials. The eerie atmosphere, horrifying enemies, and immersive storytelling make the Outlast Trials a chilling experience that pushes the boundaries of survival horror. Praey for the Gods is an action-adventure survival game that draws inspiration from titles like Shadow of the Colossus. Players take on the role of a lone hero sent to a desolate, frozen island to discover the secrets behind an endless winter. Armed with a limited set of tools, you must hunt, craft, and survive in harsh conditions while battling gigantic, godlike beasts. Each colossal encounter is a puzzle in itself, requiring strategy, agility, and determination to overcome. With its stunning visuals, vast open world, and epic boss battles, Praey for the Gods offers a breathtaking and challenging experience for fans of action and survival games. Raft is an excellent survival game to test the mettle of you and your friends. Set adrift on a small plank of wood, you must explore islands, scavenge for parts, and fight against the perils of the sea to survive. You can customize and build up your raft into a luxury vessel that is worthy of carrying you to your next adventure, but be warned, it's not all sun and seashells. The harsh sea will punish you, so resources and food can be scarce, so when possible, scavenge reefs and islands as much as possible, no matter the danger. Dune: Awakening is an ambitious open-world survival MMO set in the iconic universe of Frank Herbert's Dune. Players will step into the harsh desert world of Arrakis, where they must navigate the treacherous sands, gather resources, and build their legacy amidst the ongoing conflict between powerful factions. The game combines survival elements with large-scale battles, exploration, and base building. Sandworms, harsh environmental conditions, and political intrigue add layers of complexity to the gameplay. With its rich lore, dynamic world, and immersive storytelling, Dune: Awakening promises to be a groundbreaking experience for both fans of the Dune series and the survival MMO genre. There are few survival games with a more enticing description than Ark: Survival Evolved. The game starts you off on an island with no clothing or weapons, and you have to scrounge for materials to start building survival necessities. However, in the background, you'll hear some sharp screeches and eventually see your first dinosaur. Ark allows players to kill, tame, and ride all manner of prehistoric creatures to aid them in their survival. It's a one-of-a-kind experience that comes with full base building and multiplayer elements. A remade version of the game, Ark: Survival Ascended, was surprise released in 2023. You can check out our ARC tips for new players to help you get off to a good start. The ocean is a vast unexplored expanse, and it's the backdrop for Subnautica and its frigid follow-up, Subnautica, Below Zero. Despite taking place beneath the ocean, many familiar survival mechanics feature here, as you gather resources to gradually delve deeper into the unknown. With a vibrant aesthetic and a foreboding underwater world, this is a different type of survival game that manages to feel fresh despite its surface similarities. An open-world indie survival game that's gotten a lot of traction online. Once Human from Starry Studio has a lot of unique quirks, monsters, and mechanics that are worth checking out. Dropped in a post-apocalyptic world twisted beyond recognition by an alien creature known as Stardust. Everything is infested and warped into new and deadly forms as the world falls further into ruin. Find out the truth behind the invasion, fight massive mutated bosses, customize your loadout, and build a home in the middle of nowhere as you try to survive. There's plenty to see and do, plus lots of meters to manage to keep you on your toes. Grounded is a survival game where you get to live out the plot from the 1989 film, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. You play in a massive sandbox that takes place in a house's backyard, but you've been shrunk down to the size of a grain of sand. As a result, everything around you is 10 times larger than it's supposed to be. Insects are now hulking enemies and strands of grass stretch high into the air. To survive, you need to find unique items spread across the map and craft a base to avoid the dangers of the backyard. One game that ought to put a smile on horror fans' faces, Until Dawn. You essentially control and determine the survival of horror film protagonist stereotypes in this game by choosing their next course of action. Each choice you make has dire and reverberating consequences, and the game makes good use in depiction of the butterfly effect. While it's more scripted horror than survival, Until Dawn is still about who outlasts the mysterious and bloodthirsty killer in a random cabin in the woods. In a sense, it still is a survival game, though its survival elements might pale in comparison to some of the more hardcore titles in this list. So, did you like the games I recommended? So leave your like, subscribe to the channel to follow me, and activate the bell because I post a lot of videos on this channel and you can't miss it. Thank you very much for following me this far, and until next time, bye.